Before we start, just a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. Only 2% are subscribers. At 2,000 subscribers, I'll be posting a special video. The alien jungle teemed with life, the cacophony of strange creatures echoing through the dense foliage. Neon-hued plants glowed softly in the twilight, casting an otherworldly light across the forest floor. This serene tableau was shattered by a deafening explosion as a sleek silver spacecraft tore through the canopy, trailing smoke and fire before crashing into the ground with a violent impact. From the wreckage emerged Princess Liara, her once gleaming turquoise skin now tarnished by cuts and bruises. Her large, luminescent eyes, filled with a mixture of pain and determination, surveyed her surroundings. Each step she took was labored, her breaths coming in shallow gasps. The pristine armor she wore, emblematic of her royal status, was now dented and scorched. Liara fell to her knees, fingers sinking into the cool, damp earth as she struggled to remain conscious. Not far away, hidden among the towering trees, John Carter, an ex-soldier with a rugged demeanor, had witnessed the crash from a nearby ridge. Driven by a mix of curiosity and duty, he hurried towards the site, navigating the thick underbrush with practiced ease. As he approached the crumpled ship, he spotted Liara, her form slumped against the debris. "Can you hear me?" John called out, his voice firm yet gentle, kneeling beside the fallen alien. Liara's eyes fluttered open, filled with a blend of fear and confusion. Stories of humans, known for their fierce hearts and unpredictable nature, flashed through her mind. She wondered if this one would help or harm her. "I'm here to help," John reassured, his gaze steady and sincere. He carefully lifted her, cradling her fragile form in his strong arms, every move deliberate to avoid causing her further pain. The sound of distant footsteps and guttural growls indicated that the mercenaries who had downed her ship were closing in. John knew they had to move quickly. Carrying Liara, he navigated through the dense jungle, heading towards a hidden cave he had scouted earlier. The cool, dark interior of the cave provided a temporary sanctuary, the sounds of their pursuers fading into the distance. "Why are you helping me?" Liara's voice was a barely audible whisper, laced with suspicion and curiosity. "Because no one should face danger alone," John replied, his tone resolute. "Rest now. I'll keep watch." Over the next few days, John tended to Liara's injuries with the limited medical supplies he had. Her alien physiology fascinated him, but he focused on her immediate needs, ensuring she received the care required to heal. As she regained strength, the two exchanged stories. Liara spoke of the insurrection that had torn her home planet apart and the merciless mercenaries who pursued her. She was the last of her royal line, her survival essential to her people's hope. "We have to reach my people," Liara said one evening, her voice gaining strength with each word. "Without me, our resistance will falter." John nodded. "We'll find a way. I know a pilot who owes me a favor. We'll get you off this planet." As they prepared for their journey, John and Liara's bond deepened. They navigated the treacherous jungle together, evading traps and ambushes set by the relentless mercenaries. John's military training and Liara's intimate knowledge of her enemy's tactics made them a formidable team. Their trust in each other grew, forged in the crucible of shared danger and narrow escapes. One afternoon, as they neared the clearing where John's contact was supposed to meet them, an eerie howl cut through the air. The mercenaries had found them. John and Liara exchanged a determined glance, understanding that they would face this threat together. The mercenaries emerged from the shadows, armed and ready for battle. John and Liara stood back to back, their movements synchronized. John's blaster fired with deadly accuracy, while Liara's energy-based weaponry and agile maneuvers kept their attackers at bay. Despite their best efforts, they were heavily outnumbered and outgunned. Just when it seemed they might be overwhelmed, the roar of a spacecraft engine filled the air. John's pilot friend, Tarek, descended in his weathered ship, its guns blazing. The mercenaries scattered, allowing Tarek to land long enough for John and Liara to scramble aboard. As they ascended into the sky, leaving the hostile jungle behind, Liara turned to John, gratitude and admiration evident in her eyes. "You saved me, but this isn't over." John smiled, a steely resolve in his eyes. "No, it's not. We've only just begun." Together, They soared towards the unknown, united by a shared mission and an unbreakable bond. The real battle was yet to come, but they were ready to face it, side by side. The journey through the jungle had bonded John and Liara in unexpected ways. The quiet moments they shared, huddled by a fire or whispering strategies, built a foundation of trust. As Liara's wounds healed and her strength returned, her determination grew. She knew that reaching her people was the key to turning the tide against the mercenaries. One night, under the canopy of stars, Liara shared more of her story. Our planet, Aldaria, was a beacon of peace and prosperity. But the insurrection changed everything. The rebels, fueled by greed and power, overthrew our government. They hired mercenaries to hunt down any loyalists. My family? They're all gone. I'm the last. John listened, his face set in grim lines. We'll get you to your people, and we'll make sure those mercenaries pay for what they've done. With a plan in place, they set out at dawn. John led the way, his military training guiding them through the dense undergrowth. Liara followed closely, her senses attuned to the dangers that lurked in the shadows. They moved swiftly, knowing that every second counted. As they neared the clearing where Tarek was supposed to meet them, Liara sensed something was wrong. The jungle was too quiet, the usual hum of life subdued. She motioned for John to stop, her eyes scanning the area. "They're here," she whispered. "I can feel it." John nodded, his blaster at the ready. "Stay close, we'll get through this." The ambush came swiftly. Mercenaries, their forms cloaked in darkness, emerged from the trees. John and Liara sprang into action, their movements fluid and coordinated. Blaster fire lit up the night as they fought their way through the attackers. Liara's energy weapon, a sleek device that hummed with power, sliced through the air, disarming and disabling their enemies. John's blaster shots were precise, each one finding its mark. Despite their skill, the sheer number of mercenaries threatened to overwhelm them. "We need to get to the clearing," John shouted over the din of battle. "Tarek's our only chance." With a nod, Liara surged forward, her weapon blazing a path through the mercenaries. John covered her, his blaster never missing a beat. They fought with a desperation born of necessity, each knowing that failure was not an option. As they broke through the line of mercenaries, the clearing came into view. Tarek's ship, a battered but reliable vessel, hovered just above the ground, its ramp lowered. Tarek himself stood at the top, waving them forward. "Come on!" he shouted. "We don't have much time!" With a final push, John and Liara made it to the ship. As they sprinted up the ramp, the mercenaries closed in, their weapons trained on the fleeing pair. Tarek, his expression fierce, unleashed a barrage of fire from the ship's guns, scattering their pursuers. The ramp closed behind them with a hiss, and Tarek's ship lifted off, soaring into the sky. Liara collapsed into a seat, her chest heaving with exertion. John sat beside her, his face etched with relief. "We made it," he said, his voice tinged with disbelief. "We actually made it." Liara smiled, the first genuine smile she had felt in what seemed like forever. "Thanks to you. I couldn't have done this without you." Tarek, piloting the ship through the atmosphere, glanced back at them. "We're not out of the woods yet, Princess. We've got company." John and Liara exchanged a look, the reality of their situation sinking in. The mercenaries were relentless, their ships already in pursuit. Tarek's vessel, though agile, was no match for the firepower arrayed against them. "Hold on," Tarek called, steering the ship into a series of sharp maneuvers. "This is going to get rough." As the ship bucked and weaved, John and Liara braced themselves. The mercenaries' ships closed in, their weapons locking onto Tarek's vessel. Explosions rocked the ship, the hull shuddering under the impact. "Can we outrun them?" Liara asked, her voice tight with fear. Tarek's jaw clenched. "Not for long. We need to find a place to hide and fast." John's mind raced, searching for a solution. "There's a moon nearby, one with deep canyons and plenty of cover. If we can get there, we might be able to lose them." Tarek nodded, altering their course. The moon loomed ahead, its surface dotted with craters and shadowy ravines. As they descended, the mercenaries' ships continued their relentless pursuit, firing continuously. With expert skill, Tarek guided the ship into a narrow canyon, the walls rushing past in a blur. The mercenaries followed, their ships struggling to match the maneuverability of Tarek's smaller vessel. The canyon twisted and turned, each bend a challenge to navigate. "Almost there," Tarek muttered, his hands steady on the controls. "Just a little further." A particularly sharp turn brought them to a narrow crevice, barely wide enough for their ship. Tarek pushed the vessel to its limits, squeezing through the gap. The mercenaries' ships, larger and less nimble, struggled to follow. One by one, they peeled off, unable to continue the pursuit. As they emerged from the crevice, the moon's surface stretched out before them, peaceful and undisturbed. Tarek set the ship down in a secluded alcove, hidden from prying eyes. "We did it," Liara said, her voice a mix of relief and exhaustion. "We actually lost them." John nodded, his eyes scanning the horizon. "For now, but they'll be back. We need to keep moving." Tarek turned to face them, his expression grim. "Where to next?" Liara straightened, her resolve hardening. "To my people, it's time to end this once and for all." With their destination set, the trio prepared for the next leg of their journey. The mercenaries might have been relentless, but so were they. Together they would fight for Liara's people, and for the hope of a better future. The journey to the rendezvous point was tense. Tarek navigated the ship through asteroid fields and past enemy patrols with practiced skill. Liara spent the time preparing for the meeting, her mind racing with strategies and contingencies. John, ever vigilant, maintained his watch, ensuring their safety at every turn. As they neared the hidden base, Liara's excitement was palpable. She was about to reunite with her remaining allies, those who had remained loyal through the chaos. Yet, an underlying anxiety gnawed at her. Too many things had gone wrong already. Trust was a fragile commodity. The hidden base was concealed within a remote, rocky terrain. As Tarek landed the ship, Liara's heart pounded. She descended the ramp, flanked by John and Tarek, ready to face whatever awaited them. A group of armed guards met them, their leader, a tall, stern-faced woman, stepping forward. Liara recognized her immediately, General Kale, a once-trusted advisor. "Princess Liara." General Kale's voice was cold, her eyes hard. "Welcome back." Liara frowned, sensing something was amiss. "General Kale, it's good to see you. We have much to discuss." Kale's expression remained stoic. "I'm afraid the Council has other plans. For the safety of our people, you are to be detained." Shock and anger surged through Liara. "Detained? For what reason?" "The Council believes your return could endanger our remaining forces," Kale replied. "They have ordered your confinement until further notice." John stepped forward, his blaster at his side but not yet raised. "This is absurd. She's your rightful leader." Kale's gaze shifted to John, her disdain evident. "And who is this human? An outsider meddling in our affairs?" Liara's heart ached at the betrayal, but she couldn't let John suffer for her sake. "He's with me. He saved my life and is an ally." Kale signaled her guards, who moved to restrain Liara. John's reflexes were quick, his weapon drawn in an instant. The air grew tense, the standoff fraught with potential violence. "Stand down," Kale ordered her guards, her eyes locked on Liara. "You're making a mistake, Princess." Liara's eyes blazed with determination. "No, the mistake is betraying your rightful leader and succumbing to fear. We're leaving." With a swift motion, Liara disarmed one of the guards, pointing his weapon at Kale. "Anyone tries to stop us, they'll regret it." Kale's eyes narrowed. "You can't run forever, Liara. This will only make things worse." Ignoring the general's words, Liara and John backed towards their ship, keeping their weapons trained on the guards. Tarek, sensing the urgency, fired up the engines. The ship's ramp closed just as Liara and John scrambled aboard, and Tarek lifted off, leaving the base behind. Inside the ship, Liara's hands trembled with a mix of rage and despair. "I trusted her," she said, her voice breaking. "I thought she would help us." John placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "We'll find another way. We're not alone in this." Liara took a deep breath, steadying herself. "You're right. We need to find allies, those who believe in our cause and won't betray us." Tarek's voice crackled over the intercom. "I know a place. Haven, a planet where mercenaries and rebels gather. We might find the help we need there." The journey to Haven was fraught with tension. Liara and John used the time to strategize and gather their resolve. Haven was known for its lawlessness, a place where deals were struck and broken in the same breath. They would need to tread carefully. Upon landing, they were met with a bustling, chaotic landscape. Neon signs flickered above shadowy alleys, and the air was thick with the scent of smoke and intrigue. They navigated the winding streets, searching for potential allies. In a dimly lit cantina, they found a group of rebels led by a charismatic woman named Arya. With sharp eyes and a quick wit, she listened intently to Liara's plight. "So, you want to take on the mercenaries and reclaim your throne?" Arya leaned back in her chair, a smirk playing on her lips. "That's quite an ambition." Liara's gaze was steady. "It's not just about the throne. It's about justice and reclaiming our home." Arya studied them, her expression thoughtful. "I have my reasons to hate those mercenaries. We'll help, but it won't be easy." The days that followed were filled with intense preparation. Arya's rebels joined forces with Liara and Jon, pooling their resources and skills. They trained together, their camaraderie growing stronger with each passing day. The bond between Liara and Jon deepened, their shared purpose and mutual respect forging an unbreakable connection. As they prepared for the final assault, Liara stood before her newfound allies, her voice filled with conviction. "We fight not just for our survival, but for the future of our people. Together we can overcome any obstacle." Jon stepped forward, his presence solid and reassuring. "We've come this far together. Let's finish what we started." The alliance was ready. With their plans set and their spirits high, they prepared to launch the attack that would determine their fate. Liara's heart swelled with hope. Surrounded by friends and allies, she was ready to face the challenges ahead. The atmosphere aboard the ship was electric with anticipation. Liara, Jon, and their newfound allies from Haven prepared for the upcoming assault on the mercenaries' stronghold. The rebellion had grown, bolstered by the diverse and skilled fighters they had met on the chaotic planet. The bonds forged in the fires of mutual struggle had solidified into a formidable alliance. As they approached the stronghold, Tarek guided the ship with expert precision through asteroid fields and around enemy patrols. The stronghold loomed ahead, a fortress of metal and stone, bristling with defenses. Liara stood at the ship's viewport, her eyes reflecting both determination and a flicker of anxiety. This was it, the moment they had been preparing for. In the ship's briefing room, Liara addressed the gathered rebels. "Our mission is clear. We must take out the command center and cripple their operations. This is not just about survival, it's about reclaiming our future." Arya, their charismatic ally from Haven, nodded in agreement. "We'll divide into teams. Jon, you and I will lead the main assault. Liara, your knowledge of the stronghold's layout will be crucial. You'll guide the infiltration team." Jon stepped forward, his presence commanding attention. "We've all faced impossible odds before. This is no different. Stay focused, cover each other's backs, and remember why we're here." As the ship touched down on the outskirts of the stronghold, the rebels moved with practiced efficiency. Liara led the infiltration team through a hidden entrance she had used in her past life, a route known only to the royal family and their closest advisors. The corridors of the stronghold were dimly lit, the air thick with tension. Moving silently, Liara and her team navigated the labyrinthine passages. The stronghold's interior was a stark contrast to the jungle they had left behind, all cold metal and harsh lines. As they approached the command center, Liara's heart raced. They were so close, but the margin for error was slim. Meanwhile, outside the stronghold, Jon and Arya's assault team engaged the enemy forces head-on. Explosions lit up the sky as blaster fire and energy weapons clashed. Jon's leadership and combat skills were evident as he directed his team, each move calculated to maximize their impact and minimize casualties. The sounds of battle echoed through the corridors, reaching Liara's team. They moved with increased urgency, knowing that their success depended on perfect timing. As they neared the command center, they encountered a squad of heavily armed guards. Liara's team sprang into action, their coordinated attacks swiftly neutralizing the threat. With the guards down, Liara accessed the command center's security panel, her fingers flying over the controls. The door slid open with a hiss, revealing the nerve center of the stronghold. She and her team stormed in, catching the enemy operators by surprise. Within moments, they had secured the room. Liara activated her communicator. "John, we're in. The command center is secured." John's voice crackled back, filled with relief. "Good work, Liara. We're pushing the main force back. Stand by for further instructions." As Liara's team held the command center, she took a moment to reflect on how far they had come. The journey from the crash site to this pivotal moment had been filled with danger and uncertainty, but they had persevered. Now, the future of her people hung in the balance. Outside, the battle raged on. Arya and her rebels fought with ferocity, their resolve unwavering. The mercenaries, caught off guard by the coordinated assault, began to falter. John's tactical brilliance shone through as he led the charge, his blaster cutting through the enemy ranks with deadly precision. Back in the command center, Liara accessed the stronghold's main systems. She began to shut down defenses and disrupt communications, crippling the mercenaries' ability to coordinate their efforts. The tide of battle was turning in their favor. Suddenly, the room's main door burst open, and a squad of elite mercenaries stormed in. Liara and her team sprang into action, their weapons blazing. The fight was intense, each side fighting with desperation. Liara's skills and determination shone through as she fought alongside her team, her energy weapon slicing through the air with deadly accuracy. As the last mercenary fell, Liara took a deep breath, her eyes scanning the room. They had done it. The command center was secure, and the stronghold's defenses were crippled. She activated her communicator again. "John, we've taken down the command center's defenses. How are things on your end?" John's voice came through, filled with triumph. "We're pushing them back. They're retreating. We've won, Liara. We've actually won." Liara's heart soared. They had achieved the impossible, but the victory was bittersweet. There were still many battles ahead, but for now, they had struck a significant blow against their enemies. As the rebels regrouped and the dust settled, Liara and John stood together, surveying the aftermath. The stronghold was theirs, a testament to their resilience and unity. They had proven that together they could overcome any obstacle. Liara turned to John, her eyes filled with gratitude. "Thank you, John. I couldn't have done this without you." John smiled, his expression filled with pride and determination. "We're just getting started. There's still a lot of work to do, but we'll face it together." With the stronghold secured and their alliance stronger than ever, they prepared for the next phase of their journey. The road ahead would be long and fraught with challenges, but Liara knew that with John and their allies by her side, they could achieve anything. The fight for freedom and justice had only just begun, and they were ready to face whatever came next. The stronghold's command center buzzed with activity as Liara, John, and their allies consolidated their hold. The air was thick with the scent of victory and the knowledge that their hardest battle was yet to come. Liara stood at the central console, her eyes fixed on the holographic map of the stronghold. They had struck a significant blow, but the mercenaries were regrouping for a counterattack. John approached, his expression serious. "We need to take out their main base. As long as it stands, they'll keep coming." Liara nodded, her resolve unwavering. "Agreed. We need to hit them where it hurts. Are the teams ready?" Arya stepped forward, her eyes gleaming with determination. "We're ready. Every team knows their role. We hit them hard and fast, give them no time to react." With the plan in place, the rebels moved out. The journey to the mercenaries' main base was fraught with tension. They traveled in silence, each member of the alliance focused on the task ahead. As they approached the heavily fortified base, the enormity of their mission weighed heavily on them. Failure was not an option. The base loomed before them, a sprawling complex bristling with defenses. Liara led the infiltration team, guiding them through the maze of tunnels that snaked beneath the fortress. John, leading the assault team, prepared for a direct confrontation with the mercenaries. As Liara's team navigated the tunnels, they encountered pockets of resistance. The narrow passages erupted in flashes of blaster fire and the hum of energy weapons. Liara moved with agility and precision, her weapon a blur of motion. The rebels fought fiercely, their determination and unity driving them forward. Meanwhile, on the surface, John's assault team engaged the enemy head-on. The air was filled with the sounds of battle, explosions, shouts, and the relentless exchange of fire. John's leadership was a beacon, guiding his team through the chaos. His blaster was a constant presence, each shot finding its mark. The mercenaries, though formidable, were unprepared for the ferocity and coordination of the rebels. The tide of battle shifted as John and his team pushed forward, their resolve unwavering. Deep within the tunnels, Liara's team reached the heart of the base's infrastructure. They planted charges on key structural points, preparing to bring the fortress down. As they set the final charge, Liara activated her communicator. "John, we're in position. Charges are set." John's voice crackled through. "Copy that. We're nearing the central command. Hold tight." The battle above intensified as John's team closed in on the mercenaries' command center. The enemy, realizing the rebels' intent, fought with desperate fury. John's tactical brilliance shone through as he directed his team, exploiting every weakness and opportunity. As the rebels breached the command center, a fierce firefight ensued. John and Arya led the charge, their weapons blazing. The mercenaries' commander, a towering figure clad in advanced armor, stood at the center, directing his troops. John's eyes locked onto the commander. "We take him down. We break their spirit. Let's end this." With a nod, Arya and the rebels focused their fire on the commander. The room erupted in a maelstrom of energy blasts and shrapnel. The commander's armor deflected the initial onslaught, but under the relentless assault it began to falter. In the tunnels below, Liara's team waited for the signal. The sounds of battle reverberated through the walls, each explosion a reminder of the stakes. Liara's heart raced as she awaited John's call. Finally, John's voice came through. "Charges are set. Detonate on my mark. 3, 2, 1, now!" Liara activated the detonator. The charges erupted in a series of deafening explosions, the ground shaking as the tunnels collapsed, and the fortress above began to crumble. The mercenaries, caught in the chaos, faltered. The rebels pressed their advantage, overwhelming the disoriented enemy. In the command center, the final explosion sent shockwaves through the structure. The commander, now vulnerable, fell under the combined assault of John and Arya. As the dust settled, the rebels stood victorious, the mercenaries' forces shattered and broken. John and Liara reunited amid the ruins of the base, their expressions reflecting a mix of relief and determination. The battle had been won, but the war was far from over. Liara addressed the assembled rebels, her voice clear and strong. "Today we've shown that we will not be intimidated, that we will fight for our freedom and our future. This victory is just the beginning. Together we will reclaim our home and rebuild what has been lost." The rebels cheered, their spirits lifted by the hard-won triumph. As they began the process of regrouping and tending to the wounded, John and Liara stood side by side, their bond stronger than ever. "Thank you, John," Liara said softly, "for everything." John smiled, his eyes filled with respect and admiration. "We did this together, Liara, and we'll keep fighting side by side." With the mercenaries' stronghold in ruins and their forces scattered, the rebels had taken a decisive step towards reclaiming their home. The road ahead would be long and filled with challenges, but Liara knew that with John and their allies by her side, they could face whatever came next. The fight for freedom and justice continued, but now, they faced the future with hope and unwavering determination. Together, they would rebuild and forge a new destiny for their people.